One of the best ways to protect your business against a cyber attack is to introduce a cyber security framework. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the NIST framework and you can see what power it can have in your business. But before we start, my name is Jonathan Edwards and I'm a business IT consultant from Yorkshire in the UK. My IT company helps businesses with the cyber security and their IT support. There's so much advice online when it comes to cyber security. If you're a business owner who doesn't really understand technology, then it can all seem really confusing. Where do you start? How do you implement cybersecurity in your business effectively? One of the best ways that you can make sense of cybersecurity and to get everything organized when it comes to protecting your business is by using a framework. A framework will make things clearer and a little bit more organized. Now, there are lots of cyber security frameworks out there in the world that different people follow. In this video, we're going to concentrate on the NIST Cybersecurity framework and how, when you use it in your small business, it can be really, really powerful. When you first look at the NIST framework, it might seem really confusing and you might think it's an overkill for your small business. But I think that businesses of all sizes can implement the NIST framework in some way and it will really help protect your business. So what is this NIST Cybersecurity framework and where did it come from? The framework was developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, bit of a mouthful, but we'll shorten it to NIST, in 2014 when Barack Obama was President of the United States. The framework further got advanced in 2017 when Donald Trump was President of the United States. He demanded that all government agencies should use the NIST framework to protect themselves from cyber attacks. Now, when we talk about that, you might be thinking, well, my business isn't a government organisation. But since then, the framework has been adopted by lots of large businesses and it's also trickling down now to lots of small businesses because it's a really good framework. When it comes to my IT company, we use the framework when we're designing and supporting our small business clients with their IT systems. In each of the functions, there are also categories and subcategories. The idea is that in each function, your business will have tools and processes to improve your cyber security posture. It means that your business is going to be more resilient when it comes to cybercrime. The NIST framework also includes something called implementation tiers. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4. When it comes to tiers, it's best to think of them as a kind of score. How well is your business doing in each function? When it comes to tier 1, you're not really doing much in that function. And when it comes to tier 4, you're doing really well. Now, I know you're probably all dying to know more information about each of these 5 functions. So without further ado, let's have a look at the first function, and that is identify. The identify function requires you to have a better understanding of all the systems that make up the critical infrastructure of your business. In this function, we're asking which assets and processes need protecting. You can't protect something if you're not aware that it exists. So in the identify function, we're developing awareness and making sure that nothing falls off the radar. Now, in this function, you're going to want to look at some kind of asset management, for example. You want to list all the hardware that you use in your business. So maybe servers, PCs, laptops, printers, routers. And what about all those other internet devices? Things like these internet-enabled kettles. All those would come in the identify stage. We'll also look at every bit of software that you use in your business. What about cloud services? Do you use Microsoft 365 for email? Well, this is critical, so this would all be identified in the identify stage. But we'll also go deeper. We'll look at risk assessment. It might be that you're using old versions of software, so all these would be picked up in the identify stage. As the name suggests, the identify stage really is just identifying everything in your business that needs some kind of protection. So what we've done now is identified everything in our business that could be a cyber security risk. The next step is to move on to the next function, which is called protect. In the protect stage, we're looking at all the tools and processes that you have in place to protect those assets against a cyber attack. When we look at the protect function, this is what a lot of IT people give advice about online. So let's have a look at a few examples. So in the identify stage, you've identified that your business uses Microsoft 365. It's a critical tool in your business. Use it for email, use it for SharePoint, you use it for Microsoft Teams. So what are the risks with Microsoft 365? Well, one of the risks could be that you could become the victim of a phishing attack. You've identified that in the identify stage. So in the protect stage, we've got to look at what tools and processes we can use to protect yourself against a phishing attack. Another tool could be multi-factor authentication. We're going to enable every 365 account with multi-factor authentication. Those two tools will minimize the risk of a successful phishing attack. So that is the protect function. Now, a lot of IT companies would stop there. They've identified the risks and they've implemented some technology in the protect stage. But there are three more functions of the NIST framework that every small business should be doing. So let's move on to the next one. And the next function is called detect. What tools and processes do you have in your business to help you detect when a cyber attack is happening? Obviously, the detect function is really important. If you can detect a potential cyber attack happening early, it could prevent that cyber attack becoming catastrophic for your business. When we look at the detect stage, the analogy that I like to use is your home. So what tools do you have in place at home that would alert you to any risks? You might have an intruder alarm, you might have a smoke alarm, you might have CCTV that senses any movement and sends you a message. All these tools will be really good at helping you detect when your home is at risk. The same is true with your cybersecurity. Who is providing security monitoring in your business? Maybe an internal member of staff or even an external security company. Who is looking out for those anomalies? Take, for example, Microsoft 365. You might have someone logging into 365 in Russia when you have no members of staff in Russia. Now, that's not quite right, and that could indicate that there's a breach. So all that would happen at the detect stage. The next function in the framework is called respond. So we've identified that we've had a cyber attack. How does our business respond to that? In the response function, it's all about analysing what the breach is, containing the damage and carrying out a response plan. When we think about the respond function, the analogy again about our home. So we've identified that there's an intruder in our home. What happens next? How do we respond to that? Well, the first thing we might do is call the police. That'd be a good response plan. The same is true in our business. We might need to notify people, maybe directors and stakeholders, maybe even customers and partners. Then we need to somehow limit the damage. What exactly has happened here? Has someone left a door open that we can close? Has someone not put the intruder alarm on? All that would happen in the respond stage. The final function in the NIST Cybersecurity framework is called recover. Now, the best way to recover from a cyber attack is not to have a cyber attack at all. But unfortunately, you can't have that mindset as a business owner. You can't implement the first couple of functions of the NIST framework and hope for the best. You've always got to have the attitude of what happens if we get a cyber attack? What strategies do we have in place to be able to recover from a cyber attack? Now, according to NIST, the official meaning of the recovery stage is this. It's to restore any capabilities or services that were impaired due to a cyber security event. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? The most obvious example when it comes to recovery stage is recovering from a ransomware attack. So you've got ransomware and all your business data is encrypted, you can't access it. So the way to recover from that is by using a really good backup. So a backup will be a key ingredient in the recovery stage. But the recovery stage isn't just about technology. The recovery stage is sitting down around a table and saying, this has happened, we need to make sure that it never happens again. It's like a continuous improvement, because at this stage, we're kind of almost popping back to the identify stage again. We've recovered, Now let's make sure that we never have to go through this again. Also, in the recovery stages, it's also good to communicate with people. Communicate with your staff, your customers, your partners. Hold your hand up and say, this has happened and this is what we've done about it. When your business is a victim of a cyber attack, you can't brush it under the carpet and pretend it's not happened. It's happening to lots of businesses. It's one of the facts of life. So in summary, that is the NIST Cybersecurity framework. It was created for government agencies, but it is really, really good for small businesses. If your IT company implements the NIST framework for your business, you will be much less likely to suffer from a cyber attack. Lots of IT companies, as I've said, do the identify and the protect stage. But to improve your cybersecurity posture, you've got to do all 5 functions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you again soon.